Yes, almost good afternoon. My name is Parisa Fatehi Weeks, and on behalf of my co-chair, Nikki Graham, and the many community leaders who served on the finance, banking, and industry group, we really appreciate everyone's presence today. If you want to flip to the next slide, I can actually really give a special shout out to the many community leaders who gave their time, their energy, their expertise, folks like Dexter Henderson of IBM, who was the original co-chair of this group, but also Lourdes, Ann, Quincy, Steve, Ivana, Marina, Luis, Yvette, and so on. Thank you so much for the time you gave to really not only look at what it was that we wanted to address as a work group, because we could go in so many directions, but also to really put pen to paper on what our top recommendations were. So with that, on that next slide, you'll see what we grappled with very clearly. We knew that an inclusive financial market coupled with an inclusive workforce is absolutely critical to our city's success. But we had a lot of forces up against us. That institutional racism term that you heard Mayor Adler talk so much about, obviously the legacy of the 1928 master plan, redlining, and so many others that continue to have a very persistent effect on access to credit and economic mobility for Austinites of color. We knew and we know that 34% of Black households and 29% of Latinx households in Austin have zero net worth compared to 18% of white households. Those disparities are staggering. We also know that median household income between $40,000 to $44,000 per year for Black and Latinx households, but that compares to over $70,000 for white households. So many directions we could go in, but you'll see on the next slide that what we tried to pull it together under was the creation of the Center for Financial Empowerment, really under the direction of the City of Austin, but also with the collective that's being launched today, and so many of the other community leading groups that have been working on these issues for so long. Part of the work here is that we need at the bare minimum to conduct a systematic review and really look at modifications of the city's own policies and those of quasi-governmental agencies like Austin Energy around how we handle fines and fees for our residents. It turns out there's a lot of room for improvement there so that folks aren't being pushed into high-cost loans. We also recommend that the city expand its employer-based loan program and catalyze other employers in the city to do the same, because there have been very promising results from those programs. We also saw how many different groups, how many different corporations across all sectors have been working on solutions for financial empowerment, but they haven't been adequately aligned to really have that cumulative impact that we know is needed to counteract those very pervasive forces we talked about. So we really push that this center do a really comprehensive assessment but alignment of all of these solutions. And then finally, a comprehensive financial wellness effort that touches on many pillars, including financial coaching, certification and clinics, small dollar loan programs, digital inclusion that eliminates barriers to all kinds of opportunities, including financial mobile applications. Also, innovative services that are generated directly from the feedback and the lived experiences of families with low incomes. And of course, thinking about all of these solutions being offered in a multilingual way so that all families can access them. So these were the top, just a very small thumbnail of the recommendations we shared in 2019. And what I want to show you on the next slide is that the work has continued. The reality is that no one document will remain live and true, given all the many new opportunities and challenges we face as a city. So I want to give a shout out to advocates like Texas Appleseed, Financial Literacy Coalition of Central Texas, and many others on the work group who stood together to push City Council to adopt updated protections against predatory lending practices in May, just this past summer. So the work continues, the opportunities continues, it's always going to shapeshift, and the work is so very far from being done, but it's part of why we're so excited that this collective is launching today. And with that, I'll take a breath and I will pass it to Dr. Holman of the Health Work Group.